Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That was said by Carl Jung. Most people don't think that they're living on autopilot. I know that myself, I didn't think that I was living on autopilot. You know, I thought I was making rational decisions. I thought I was responding to circumstances, right? And, thinking that the market, the economy, my upbringing, timing is shaping my life. But what if the biggest force of shaping your future and, for that matter, my future is language you didn't even realize you were repeating? Today, we're going to talk about the quiet scripts that are running your life and your money. Welcome to Built for Life, Not Just Money. And today, as I've been talking about, I've been really analyzing philosophy. I've been looking at language. And this is stuff that I work with my clients all of the time, either directly with them or I'm hearing it come out of their mouth and even hearing it come out of my own mouth. So please don't take this episode as me saying that I know everything and that I'm Mr. Perfect. This is just as I'm reading different things and learning different things, I want to present it to you all. And hopefully you can learn from something from it. So diving back into today's episode, right? Talking about the quiet scripts that may be running your life. Why does this matter financially? And it's the bridge of, what we're saying in our heads. Sometimes I hear like, I'm just not good with money, or I don't have time to look at this right now. Or what will people think if I change my careers? Do I want to take that risk in changing my career? It's not the right time to work with an advisor or to invest or what have you. I don't think these sound dramatic, but they do shape balance sheets. They shape careers. They shape marriages. They shape our future. And if they stay unconscious, we may call them like the outcome from this, we may call it bad luck, right? But you might call it that's just how life worked out, right? That's fate. But let's analyze these in a more practical way. Let's just talk about this for a second. So that's just how I am is a common phrase that I hear, right? I'm just not disciplined. I'm bad with investing. I'm a spender. I don't have time, right? That type. But this line of thought and stuff that comes out of our mouth, the language. And I used to say stuff like this too, right? Like I am overly disciplined because of my upbringing in the military and how I was raised. This locks in identity of my past behavior. It really locks it in. And on some level, I maybe pound my chest about it. There's a certain level that I am proud that I'm a very disciplined person, but I can come across very rigid. And it also has an effect on that piece as well, right? Rather than saying like locking in that identity, maybe I should be saying something like, that's how I've been. And that small identity shifts, the small identity shifts, they can compound just like money. Right? Another phrase is, I don't have time. And if you translate that honestly, you're really saying it's not a priority, right? It is what it is. And I don't mean that in a, point at you type matter. Um, what I really mean by it is, it is just the reality of the situation, right? You would never say, I don't have time to pick up my kids. Like you would get someone or you yourself would pick up your child. So really it's a priority level and it applies to your health, right? I don't have time to work out. It applies to marriage. I didn't have time to have a date night with my spouse. It ties to financial planning. It ties to so many different things. And so something to consider with this is audit your calendar, not your intentions. Trust only movement, right? That's an Adler quote that I like. And where are you moving? What intentions you have with that movement? So I just wanted to bring that to our attention, like that I don't have time is just saying you're not making it a priority. And it might make sense to not make it a priority, just so I'm clear. I'm not saying that everything needs to be a priority because when everything's a priority, nothing is. However, I would argue that your health, in my opinion, should be a priority. Maybe you can't do an hour at the gym, but you could do something. It wasn't a priority for me. I would say I didn't have time for it. And the fact of the matter is I could have gotten up at 4 a.m. or I could have done it late at night. Right. The same thing can be true with a lot of things. Phrase number three, what will people think? And maybe you're not saying it in that verbiage, but it might be in your mind. Like there are things that I've done in my career and in my life that has definitely entered it, right? Like I make the joke around, and it's not a joke; it's a real story, and I've told it several times now. But it's real. The time that I almost bought a Porsche, and it was really what will people think of me if they see me driving in a Porsche? And this phantom audience, like no one would give a rip if I bought a Porsche, right? If my best friend John saw that I bought a Porsche, he'd probably laugh because he knows that I'm not a car guy and probably call me out for saying, who you trying to be? But he also wouldn't care, right? And apply that to many different things, changing your career, downsizing your lifestyle, starting a business, charging what you're worth if you're a business owner, right? Investing differently or having a financial plan that sounds different than your peers, right? This goes back to what is it you want out of your life? Who cares what people think as long as you get to live the life that you want? So reframe this as, what do I think? What does my future self think? This is where freedom starts to really come to the forefront, and it doesn't happen. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm Mr. Free over here. However, these lines of thought, this language that I'm trying personally to work on, has helped me drastically, I think, communicate with my clients. I think they would agree with that. I think it's helped me in my marriage and helped me with my kids. And it's helped me in my mind just grow in general and not fall back on this bad language. Phrase number four that I hear all the time, it's not the right time, right? It's the fear of wearing a suit, right? And what I mean by fear of wearing a suit, some people they don't want to upgrade their life, or they don't want to change their life because in their mind it's just not the right time to do that, right? It's not the right time for me to hire an advisor. It's not the right time for me to start working out. It's just not the right time. Like momentum will create clarity. And what I mean by that is if you just started to do something, right? If your thing is it's not the right time to start working out, I bet you anything, if you started just going for a walk, a quick 10-minute walk, that would probably urge you to maybe extend the walk. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk a month later. That momentum, creating that action will create the clarity. All of a sudden starts coming into play and you're like, wow, okay, this walk is actually helping me feel better about myself. It's clearing my mind. The same thing is true with financial planning. Alex and I work with clients all the time, and up front, like they're nervous. And I'll be honest with you, I'm always nervous when I'm sitting down with clients because I want to make sure I'm doing my best work for them. I'm confident in what we do, but I want to make sure I'm doing it for them and making sure that the goals are aligned. And what's really interesting about this is the more they start to dive into it and take little action steps, all of a sudden now they realize what they really want. And now we're getting into the financial planning. Now it becomes real fun because it's now pertinent and personal to them. So it becomes the right time real fast. So you can apply this to right financial planning. You can apply it to hard conversations you need to have with your spouse or family member or business partner, right? Just getting started and just that relief or that momentum starts to really build on it. And so underneath, these four phrases, right? I'm not enough, right? Not smart enough, not ready enough. These beliefs quietly shapes many things in your life, right? Like going back to all of the different things that we've already spoken about. When you say that, you're you're kind of building that and making that you're like believing in it more and more. And it can shape your risk. It can shape your income ceiling. It can shape your confidence. It can shape who you are. It can shape what life you want to have. Language is so important, and it's important to take a step back and become conscious about what we're actually saying, which is the hardest thing, and maybe where I want to end. It's the hardest thing to do is being conscious around what you're saying and what you're doing, rather than just going throughout life unconscious, which is very easy to do. I spoke about this in the last episode too. Life happens, and you think about this, and then an hour later, you're into the grind and you forget it. Really come back to how do you become conscious? And in my opinion, this comes down to practical exercises. And that exercise is frankly once a week, sit down with yourself and just what did you do? What did you get done? What have you said to yourself? Like, did you say I didn't have time for something? And keep in mind that means it wasn't a priority for you. And maybe it shouldn't have been a priority, or maybe it should have been. So when you sit down with yourself and maybe you have your spouse, right? And just, man, this just sounds so corny, by the way. I'm laughing because I used to hate these types of exercises and now I do it now every Sunday. Um, but it really brings it into the full picture and what you want. And unless you're really setting time aside to be conscious with your thoughts and what you've done, when are you ever going to do it? And I think that's how I'm going to end this episode, right? Kind of bringing it back to the Carl Jung quote: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you're going to call it fate. So make sure you head over to Built for Life, notjustwealth.com. At the top of the page is a contact us. If you got anything out of this, or if you want us to talk about any other topic, that's a great way for you to reach out to us with any questions, concerns, or if you wanted to look at your own financial world, maybe you just wanted a scorecard on your financial picture. Maybe that's the baby step that you want to take to become more conscious. There's going to be a link in the show notes for that scorecard. Alex and I do not get those details. It's specifically for you. You have to actually hit another button for us to get any of that information. So make sure you check out that scorecard if financials are something that you are wanting to take that step in. I hope this episode was valuable for you. As always, cheers.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Park Avenue Securities, Guardian, or Quantified Financial Partners, and opinions stated are their own. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investments and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. This material is intended for general public use. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities, LLC is not undertaking to provide investment advice or a recommendation for any specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. Please contact a financial representative for guidance and information that is specific to your individual situation. Ryan and Alex are registered representatives and financial advisors of Park Avenue Securities, LLC. OSJ 200 Market Street, Suite 1850, Portland, Oregon 97201. Phone number 503-221-1226. Securities products and advisory services offered through Park Avenue Securities, member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representatives of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Park Avenue Securities is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Quantified Financial Partners is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Park Avenue Securities or Guardian. Ryan Burklo, CA Insurance License Number 0K24924. Alexander Collins, CA Insurance License Number 0H24806.
8800926.1, expiration date March 2028.